We all know that factory farms are terrible, but what about eating animals that come from free-range farms or from hunting?
If all we succeeded at was stopping the factory farms, I would be so happy. Because an animal that is living in a natural environment and really getting to experience its sovereignty and its direction of its life, and then gets killed hopefully quickly, it's a radically different experience than an animal that is really enslaved in poor to terrible to atrocious conditions for its whole life, and then killed in very often a very brutal way. And so if we only made that shift, that would be so humongous, right? So much of the atrocity would be addressed. Then the question comes, is that the only shift worth making? Is that all the shift? And for me, as much respect as I have for, say, the Native American kind of ethic, I also noticed that in areas where there was more, pre-agriculture, in areas where there was more natural edible plant life, there was less animal consumption. And in areas where there was less natural edible plant life, there was more animal consumption, because that's what the people had to do to adapt and live there, right? We totally understand. Post-agriculture, where we have the ability to grow everything we need plant-wise, then if that produces less suffering than, less harm than killing more sentient creatures, then is there really a justification for continuing the animal thing? And for me, there isn't. And we talk about the idea of humane slaughter, and it really is an oxymoron. And all you have to do to recognize that is ask, would you be okay being on the other side of it? And in morality, there's a famous test called the pie slice theorem. When we're asking if something is something really ethical, is something fair, and it's like, okay, well, you slice the pie, you pick what the two sides are, and I get to pick which one I want. Or I slice and you pick, but that way we avoid bias. So we got to just ask, are we setting up a dynamic for how we tend to animals where we'd be okay being in their position? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't want a life where I was taken care of pretty well and then murdered quickly, then the answer is they wouldn't want that either. And if it was necessary, then we'd have to look at justifying it. But if it's not necessary, there's really no justification for it. And that really is a key to get, is that no animal has ever voluntarily put their head on a chopping block, and if they knew that that was coming, would do everything in their power to get away from it. And just because we have the power to take their life away, do we have the right? And if we need to, if there's a situation where we are in a survival situation, we have no other resources, and we're going to die or they're going to die, it's a totally different story, right? And if someone really didn't know how to be healthy otherwise, it's a different story. But if it's simply a preference for us, but it's the whole possibility for life for them, then I don't think we can ethically justify that.
Yeah, I think that's something that you find consistent through all forms of life, from the most complex to the most basic, is that every animal wants to live. At the end of the day, there isn't any animal that doesn't want to have life and to experience life.
Well, it's the fundamental impulse of life, of biology, is to continue, right, and to propagate. And when we think about our desires, everything we want and everything we don't want, it's all contingent upon life, right? And without that, everything else is gone. So their desire to mother their children and to be social and to experience anything that they might want to experience is on the foundation of their ability to live. And so to take that away for just, I like the way it tastes, right? Or something that is so surface in our hierarchy of needs, and it's at the core of their hierarchy of needs, means that we have to make their life so unimportant in our eyes that their whole right to life is worth less than something relatively trivial to us. And if we're willing to take another feeling life form and make their whole experience that trivial, then there's a bleed over effect where we start doing that with other people. Right? We start doing that with anything else. We start thinking of the rest of life as a commodity for us rather than other sovereign life forms with their own right to life. We're not thinking about what does it want? What does it feel? What is its right to life? How can I support it having a full life experience in this universe? It's what is in it for me, and even if it requires harming it or hurting it, how can I get what I want out of it? When we start thinking that way in any area, it leads to a way of thinking that bleeds over to commoditizing all life. And we can see that being like an underlying way of being for all of the problems in the world right now.